Halloween is the perfect time to be sitting by the fireside telling stories. And you know, in Ireland, the season of Samhain was an important time in the Celtic calendar. It's the time when the veil between the living and dead was considered to be very thin, and sometimes people might move between the dead and the living. But I'm going to talk about Halloween traditions for a wee minute. When I was a wee girl, you'd bob for apples, or you'd try and get apples hung on strings, or you'd even play knick-knock, tying strings on people's doors and knock on the door and run away. But nowadays it's all trick-or-treating. The American traditions have come over here. But you know, we sent a very important tradition over to the other side of the Atlantic. And the story I want to tell you explains that a wee bit. It's about a boy called Will. He was a blacksmith in County Antrim, and he had a little addiction to gambling. He would have bet on 2 flies going up a wall. And you know, somebody told him, if you're running out of money, the place to go on Halloween night is Dundermott Moat, outside Glarford. If you go there and you shout 3 times, "Oh Nick, oh Nick, oh Nick," the devil himself will come and he'll give you gold. Will thought he'd try it. So he did just that, and sure enough, he smelt a whiff of sulphur, and there was this tall figure dressed in black. "You called?" "Yes," Will said. "Somebody said you'd give me a bit of money." "Oh, I'll do that. Here, just make your mark on this paper here, and you'll have enough gold to do you for 7 years. Well, Will never read the small print, signed the thing, and sure enough, ended up with a bag of gold. I'd love to tell you he banked it, but no, spent it like water. And after a few years, he was working away in the blacksmith's shop, and he was aware of somebody behind him, and he turned, and it was a shimmering figure. It was like an angel. And the angel said, "You're Will." He says, "You have made a big mistake. Do you know you have sold your soul to the devil, and he's coming for you in 7 years." "What?" "But I can help. I can give you 3 wishes that'll get you out of that." 3 wishes. Will said, "When people come into this blacksmith shop, they're always borrowing my tools. I wish that the next person that gets one of my tools in their hand, it sticks to them until I release them." "Granted," said the angel. "A bit of a waste of a wish." "My second wish," he said, "I have a very comfortable chair beside my fire, and how is it when guests come in, they always sit in that chair? I wish that whoever sits next in that chair, they'll stick to it." "Granted," said the angel. "Oh, this is not going to get you anywhere." "My third wish," he said, "I can never keep money in my purse. I wish that the next money I get in my purse won't release it until I give it permission to go." "Granted," said the angel. "Good luck, you'll need it." Well, do you know, 7 years isn't long a coming round, and he was working away there in the shop one day when he smelt the whiff of sulphur behind him, and there stood the devil. He said, "Right, you coming?" He says, "I'll be right with you. I'm just finishing this wee girl's pony shoe. Hold on to this hammer for a wee minute and I'll be right with you." And of course, the minute the devil got the hammer in his hand, it stuck tight to it. "Let me go, let me go." "Axman's hammer's heavy." "You'll be grand," said Will. "You'll be grand. Please let me go." "I'll let you go if you give me another 7 years and more gold." "Granted." And off went the devil in a whiff of sulphur. Well, again, I wish I could tell you that Will was thrifty with the money, but he was not. Spent it like water. 7 years came by, and the devil said, "Right, the boy, you come on." He says, "Right you are, I'm coming. Could we just call into the house, because if a fire on, I want to bank it up. I don't want the house to burn down. My relatives would want to inherit the house after I've gone." So the devil came in. Of course, Will had a big roaring fire, and we all know the devil likes a nice warm fire. So he plunked down the chair beside it, and of course stuck fast. "Get me out of here, get me out of here." "No, you'll be grand." And you know, he left him there for 2 days. You can imagine what state he was in. Will turned up and said, "Right, I'll let you go if you give me 7 more years and a bag of gold." "Grant it." And away went the devil. Well, the other 7 years came by, and the devil's right, "No tricks this time. Right, I'm coming right with you. No, a deal's a deal." And they were walking down the street, and Will said, "Oh, I've an awful thirst on me. We couldn't just stop off, just maybe for a wee drink of something." Well, as you know, the devil's often tempted by alcohol, so in they went. And I don't know what they ordered up, but the price came to 2 shillings. And Will says, "I have no money on me." "Huh, don't look at me, I don't carry money." Will said, "I heard you can turn yourself into anything. Just you name it. What about the money?" And the next thing, bing, this coin was rolling up and down. Will put it in his purse, took the purse home, put it on the blacksmith's anvil, took the hammer, started banging the living daylights out of this purse. Let me go, let me go. I'll let you go, but give me the rest of my days and as much money as I need. And the devil was gone. Will lived to be 80 years old, and then there came the time when of course he passed away. He went up to the pearly gates. There was St. Peter. Name, Will. Occupation, blacksmith. Where are you from? County Under. You must have done something really bad. There's a black line through your name. No, I'm afraid you have to go on to the hot place down below. So Will went down and felt the flames reaching him, and he came to the gates of hell, and all the wee red devils were running about inside, and they took one look at him and they said, Daddy, Daddy, look who it is. And the devil came and he said, what the devil do you want? He said, well, they won't let me in up there. Well, you're not getting in down here. Where am I to go? So the devil took a shovel and he raked up some hot ashes and he reached them through the bars and he said, take that, make a wee hell of your own someplace. So that's why Will's spirit, like many other restless spirits, have been wandering the highways and byways and bogs of Northern Ireland. And that's why the people who got scared hollowed out turnips, put candles in them, set them on their windowsills to scare off those strange creatures out there in the night. And then of course when Irish people went to America, they took that tradition with them. And of course over in America you get pumpkins, and anybody who's ever carved a turnip knows it's an awful lot easier to carve a pumpkin, and the smell's better as well. So that's the story of how Will the blacksmith, known as Will o' the Wisp, came to take that tradition to America. The story I want to tell you comes from famine times, when many families, big families with children, lived in thatched cottages owned by landlords. And of course, if they couldn't pay the rent, out they'd go. And my story is about a family called O'Connor. It was a father and a mother, a wee boy called Sean who's about 5, and a wee baby girl called Catherine. They called her Katie, just a wee babe in arms. This poor family couldn't pay the rent, and early one morning the landlord's men came to put them out of the cottage to set fire to the thatch, and the mother stood outside holding the child in her shawl and saying, no, I've left something in the cottage, I need to go back in. No rent, no house. And so the poor family had to make their way to the workhouse. Once there, they were separated. Men on one side, women on the other, children with all the other children. And within a few weeks, the poor wee baby Katie succumbed to the fever. And at that time, they buried fever victims in just a big communal plot. When the poor mother heard the news, well, any colour she had left in her cheeks just left it. And she got down and down and down till finally she died of a broken heart. The young man said that was it. He was leaving Ireland. He took his wee boy Sean by the hand. He made sure his wife got a decent Christian burial. They couldn't afford a stone, but at least she was buried in consecrated ground. And he took his boy and they headed far, far away to get a ship bound for the new world. All the way over, he would tell Sean stories about his mummy. He would tell stories, folk tales that he'd heard growing up. He would play tunes on his tin whistle. And the boy kept those stories in his heart till he was an old man. When they got to Boston, the father got a job working in the big high-step houses, and as the years passed, Sean grew up and got into the building trade, and they prospered. They were good workers. And generation followed generation, and the stories were told from generation to generation. And so, about 5 years ago, the family decided to come to Ireland to find out where all this happened. Now, it was easy enough to find the churchyard, even to find the spot where the great-great-granny had been buried. They had plenty of money, so they organised for a stone to be put up. And then they went looking for the old thatched cottage, but of course, only 4 walls stood there. The thatch had long since fallen in. But when they got there was a for sale sign. They said, we're going to buy it. People said, you can't buy it. You can't buy it. That house is haunted. People say they can hear a baby crying at night. Nobody can stay in it. Even walking past it, you'd hear it. They said, it's our house. We'll buy it. So they did it all up. Beautiful whitewashed walls, renewed the thatched, painted up the windows, nice half door. And their daughter Kate was playing around the house. And of course, these old houses have big wide chimneys. And she remembered hearing a story how up the chimney a wee bit there was often a nook where you could have kept salt, because the old houses would have been damp. And she put her hand into that crevice and pulled something out. and it was a piece of old ragged cloth, and when she opened it up, it was a battered tin locket. And when she opened that, there was just a drawing of a wee baby, and it said Katie, 1847. She knew the story. This must have been what the great-great-granny wanted back into the house for. She wrapped it carefully, she took it to her father, and they ensured it was buried in the great-great-granny's grave. And after that, nobody ever heard the crying baby again.